Welcome to the show. Great to have you with us on STL Sports Central, where we're presented by DraftKings, where the crown is yours. It's the Randy Karraker Show featuring Brooke Grimsley. This is obviously not Brooke Grimsley. She is out on maternity leave. Brenden Schaeffer in. Always good to have a good Taco Tuesday with Schaefer. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Enjoyed that Cardinals game last night. I don't think you could have imagined a much better way to have the first game against the Cubs in 2025. You have feelings about that, Randy? I was getting flack for my take yesterday on the first game coming in June. My thought was, if you're only going to get 13 of them, I'd rather them be kind of backloaded where the games mean more. But what's your thought on that?
What you say makes sense because of the fact that there are only 13 games. And if they played 18 like they should, then you should have 3 in Chicago, 3 in St. Louis in April and May, 3 in Chicago, 3 in St. Louis in June, July, or August, and then 3 in Chicago, 3 in St. Louis in September. That's the way it should be. But with the way it is, I have no problem with this. And both teams actually have kind of found their groove post-Memorial Day. So, I don't have any problem with this. And especially because the Cardinals have kind of migrated from runway to we're trying to win now. And last night, the 4 left-handed hitters hitting home runs, Liberatore certainly is more now than what he was in April and May. So I think the Cardinals have a better chance to win this series in June than they did in the first 2 months of the season too.
And I felt like they had to get off on the right foot last night. It was the most favorable pitching matchup you were going to get, with Libby kind of coming back around after a period where I think he was just a little fatigued, maybe hit a bit of a wall, as he said last night, but has really come out on the other side of that looking good. And Ben Brown on the other side for the Cubs, if he's got a 5.5 ERA and you've got a bunch of lefties in your lineup that are starting to come together, that was the recipe, and Oli Marmol saw it, and the Cardinals executed it. It was a good win last night.
Yeah, and now they've got some hot hitters. Nootbaar appears to be coming out of his slump. Donovan is hitting well. Burleson has been red hot. Nolan Gorman has had a terrific June. I looked it up this morning. In April and May, Gorman had 3 instances in which he had played 3 games in a row. In June, he's had 7 of those instances.
Yeah.
And we've seen enough ball that you need to get playing time. You need to get reps to get into a groove. And I think that's where Nolan Gorman is now. Now, is he going to wind up being Shohei Ohtani? No. But I think he has a chance to be a better chance to be his best if he gets consistent playing time.
Yeah, a better version of himself is really what you're hoping to find. And for Nolan Gorman, that could mean, the home runs coming in bunches. I think that's what you've been missing from him since really the beginning of 2024. 2023, he had stretches like that where I know that wasn't a very memorable season for the Cardinals, but Gorman had some moments where he really carried you. And, we'll see if he can elevate back to that level or not. But you're right. The first thing that has to happen, if that's ever going to materialize, is him being in the lineup. And so right now, I think you're seeing him get a little more of that runway. Obviously, Burleson has got to be in there with how good he's been hitting. And Walker might be somebody who's on the outside looking in more than he had been in previous months. But I think when you have as many players as the Cardinals do to want to fit in, you're going to have different fits and starts where guys aren't going to be getting that runway.
Yeah, and last night, the only starting player that didn't have a hit was Mason Wynn, and he was on base for one of the 2-run homers. And Matthew Liberatore was great. 7 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs. He struck out 5 and walked 1. He threw 85 pitches. Okay, if the Cardinals are in a playoff series starting on Thursday, today's Taco Tuesday, Cardinals are in a playoff series starting Thursday against the Phillies with Harper and Schwarber, or against the Dodgers with Ohtani or Freeman, or with the Mets against Soto. I'm not so sure that Matthew Liberatore doesn't start game 1 of the playoff series for me against the really good team.
I'm still Sonny Gray. I know you've got maybe some different thoughts on Sonny Gray in the playoffs.
Especially against lefties and especially on the road.
That's a fair point, too, because you're unlikely at this point. Maybe the Cardinals make the playoffs, but are they hosting that wild card series? Probably not. So that is a factor to consider. I think either way, Liberatore's in one of those first 2 games, though. If not the first one, he's in the next one. And that's not something we would have said going back to March. I mean, just had no idea that this guy was going to get the runway from the Cardinals to say sink or swim as a starter. We're going to find out this year, and then to execute the way that he has, to have sub-4 ERA, a career high in innings, by the way, already at the MLB level. Now, he threw like 126 innings in 2023, but that was crossing between minors and majors. Last night, he got up to 86 in the third innings pitched, which is more than the 86 innings he threw all of last season. Maybe that's something that we do have to consider. If the Cardinals are going to be in the mix for this thing long-term in 2025, how do they manage Libby the rest of the way so that he can start that game one for you, Randy?
And they've done a great job of keeping people healthy. Remarkable that the Cardinals have not put a pitcher, let alone just a starting pitcher, but any pitcher.
That's unbelievable.
On the IL. And here we are on June 20th. June 24th. It's incredible that this team has gone as far as it has without having to put a pitcher on the IL. And Michael McGreevy will be back tonight. They'll send out Roderick Munoz, and McGreevy will get the start. Might be a glimpse of the future with Liberatore and McGreevy starting back-to-back games against the Cubs.
Yeah, that's pretty fun and something you might be seeing for years to come. I think McGreevy is more than ready. We've known this to be true. But like you said, the opportunities that normally come for young pitchers like a Michael McGreevy when he's your next man up to begin the year, they haven't come as often as we expected they would because of the just amazing health of the Cardinal pitching staff. And I don't think that happens by luck.
No.
Like, I think the Cardinals have done a really good job in terms of their coaching staff and the way that they have mapped out the season. They get the extra day for the starters when they can buy it. Relievers, they have been taxed. A guy like Kyle Leahy already at 43 innings. He's pacing for about 100 innings. That's not going to be sustainable. But largely, given the circumstances, I think they've done a really nice job of managing to make sure these guys do keep healthy.
And we talk a lot about in media, we talk a lot about numbers and analytics and data. And this is one place where the Cardinals have really utilized data to their advantage because they have a tremendous amount of knowledge about how far their pitchers can go. This is why they went to the 6-man rotation early in the season. This is why guys were given more days off and fewer innings early in the season. Remember the game where Fetty was taken out? Well,
yeah.
He was throwing a no-hitter. Well, there's a method to the madness. On that particular day, he threw 88 pitches, and the Cardinals weren't going to let him go past 90. And that happens a lot with the Cardinals. But if you're looking for a reason as to why nobody is wound up on the IL, that's it. Now, the Dodgers do basically the same thing, but I kind of think the Dodgers, and tell me if you agree with this, Brendan.
Okay.
I think some of these injuries that they have are more preservation on the IL for 10 days of preservation rather than a shoulder impingement or elbow discomfort or anything like that.
You know, you're not supposed to do the phantom IL anymore, but still to a degree that probably happens. But there have also been names like a Tyler Glasnow has been out for them, and he is probably somebody that's going to pop up in September. It's like they are getting that automatic qualifier role to the playoffs, and they're waiting maybe for some of those guys to be maximized when the season matters the most. You can debate whether or not that's actually happening to some degree, but I do think there's something to be said for, I know swing and miss matters a lot in the modern game, but when you think about the types of arms the Cardinals have versus the types of arms the Dodgers have, the Dodgers are teaching all of the swing and miss and the spin, and they have guys who can do it, but that doesn't always lead to longevity. And it's maybe a little bit old school to say, hey, we've got a good defense, we're going to pitch to contact, but the Cardinals have perhaps benefited from that as well with keeping their guys healthy.
And it's funny with the Dodgers because Tyler Glasnow was always injured with the Rays, right? And a guy like Blake Snell, the first time Blake Snell ever went 7 innings in a major league game, even though he had pitched since something like 2017, maybe it was even 2016. First time he ever went 7 innings in a game was last year when he threw that no-hitter for the Giants.
Yeah.
So they know what they're getting into. I'm kind of surprised that they pitched Yamamoto as much as they have because he's been on a 6-day rotation playing in the Japanese league, but they understand what they're doing. I go back when you mentioned the Phantom IL, they had Ted Lilly, remember? More than a decade ago, and he was there through 2010 through 2013, and it might have been right at the end of his career when they had him on the IL, and his injury designation was working on velocity. that was what he was on the IL for.
Yeah, I don't think you could get away with that now.
I don't think
You'd have to at least come up with something, but that is the way that they have done things for a long, long time.
All right, let's touch a little bit more on the Cardinal offense, because if you're going against a right-handed pitcher and your philosophy has changed, they aren't going to get away from growth. They aren't going to get away from runway. They're going to give certain players runway, but they may have determined as we close in on the halfway point of this season that their future lies in players playing every day other than Walker. Now, Walker's going to get his opportunities. Clearly, he's going to get his reps here. But when the Cardinals are playing a team like the Cubs and have a chance to make up ground in the standings, I think the important games, these division games, if they're going against a right-hander, that lineup that you made up yesterday that Hali used because he pays attention to you, I think that will be a lineup that we'll see more often than not.
Yeah, and sometimes you'll still have like Pozo behind the plate. There might be a difference in the catcher, but it's a pretty balanced lineup against righties to have 5 left-handed bats in there. Victor Scott can turn things over with his speed from the bottom of the order as almost that second leadoff guy. And the other 4 lefties that are in there, as we saw last night, can provide a dose of power. And the more consistently you get that, the better. Donovan almost had 2 home runs. I think PCA, it was very close to being a home run, but I think the thought that it was just a solo job, they didn't need that. It was the night of 2-run homers, and so you let Crow Armstrong take that one away. But the power that we've kind of had the narrative of the Cardinals lack the power. They showed it last night, and I think getting it from the left side is all that much more important because you do see more righties than lefties.
Well, and I think what happened was last year, down the stretch, August and September, Burleson kind of lost his power stroke.
He did.
And then for the first 2 months of this season, April and May, kind of lost his power stroke. He has reestablished that in June. And that is what I wondered about personally, was whether or not that first 4 months of last year wasn't real, or was it those other 4 months that we saw without him hitting home runs? We know the power is there, but is it going to be consistent? Like if Nolan Gorman hits, he's going to hit for power. I do kind of think, and going back to what Matt Carpenter said to Alec Burleson, he said, hey, if you see a pitch to do damage with, swing at it. And he's using that philosophy, and it's working for him. Certainly in June, he's been sensational.
Yeah, I think there was a pitch against the White Sox that was above his eyes that he still managed to hit. But that's that aspect of when you're going. That's like an old Vladimir Guerrero would just swing at any pitch, and he would be able to make good contact with it. Burleson, they've kind of tried to get him in that philosophy of the pitches you can do damage on, and I think that's taken to heart a little bit. You sometimes can't take the wild swing out of the boy because he loves to make contact on those pitches, and it's his skill, his superpower. He's never out of an at bat because of that. I'm looking at the numbers though, Randy, like you can even bake in a little bit of a slow start. And part of that was a lack of playing time this year because when the runway wasn't favoring him, he just had to sit and be ready. But he's sitting there with a 307 batting average and an 818 OPS. I mean, those numbers will get you a long way. And he's a middle order bat for this Cardinals team moving forward until further notice.
I don't think there's any question about that. All right, Gary Tracy checks in, and we appreciate you being with us on STL Sports Central, the Randy Karraker Show. Jordan Walker isn't going anywhere in this organization if he doesn't quit stepping in a bucket. I don't know why he can't take that outside pitch to right field. He's big enough to hit the ball a long way. Yes, he is, but there's a reason that some hitters wind up being great and some hitters don't wind up being great. Just because you have ability doesn't mean you're going to be able to execute and utilize that ability all the time. And this is why a guy like Walker is getting runway. Just because he was highly touted and has a ton of ability doesn't mean he's going to be great. And how many hitters have we seen over the years that come up as a highly regarded, highly rated prospect and don't wind up being great? I mean, I can go all the way back to when I was a kid. The Cardinals had Jose Cruz's brother, Hector Cruz. They traded Ken Reitz to San Francisco for a year because they thought Hector Cruz was going to be great. Same thing. He was a great prospect, didn't wind up being great. They thought that Todd Zeile was going to be a superstar, and Todd Zeile had a really good career, had some 100 RBI seasons, but he never turned out to be the hitter that they expected him to be. And I think we can look back at myriad Cardinals over the years that they have. Dylan Carlson.
Yeah, it's a good example from recent.
That they have hyped up and and not only them, but baseball has hyped up. They see their ability at the minor league level. They see the tools, but the tools are never used to elevate those players to a higher level.
Yeah, and like thinking back to Jordan Walker's rise through the minors, I really didn't see this coming, him being one of the ones where we're kind of looking at going, is this going to work out? And right now, I mean, it's just been a number of years where you find a little bit of momentum and then he kind of falls into old habits. I think pitchers in the big leagues have figured out how to attack him very effectively, and Walker's had a lot of trouble consistently fending that off. And he is still just 23 years old, and so you do look at that and say, man, he was up at the big league level while a lot of guys are still in Double-A. And so you could ask if he was rushed, but like he was performing at all those levels previously. So that's a little bit of a tricky conversation, and it's in the past at this point. What the future has to be for Walker is kind of pulling what Alec Burleson did early this season, where he said, I may not be getting the opportunity, but I've got to put the work in every day to be ready. And those opportunities, as you said, Randy, will come for Walker, but yeah, this is year 3 where he's going to have to be able to take advantage.
And we do, and I know Jordan is tuned in, so he appreciates your suggestions because of the vast expertise among Cardinal fans of hitting John Schenk. Are you related to Richard Schenk, teacher man? This is a different guy, Matthew Rocchio?
Richard Schenk is SCHEC.
Oh, okay.
ENCK.
Okay, John.
I Googled it too.
Yeah, John Schenk says Walker needs to ditch the open batting stance. He's strong enough to hit for power to all fields. Richard Schenk is Aaron Judge's personal hitting coach, who in his basement watched videos of Barry Bonds to learn about how to hit for power. And he's one of the reasons that Aaron Judge is what he is. You look at the stature of the two young men, Aaron Judge, Jordan Walker. Maybe Jordan would do well to visit with Richard Schenk. Also, Eric Cleveland. Walker has a big problem. He has 0 pitch recognition. So, talking with a soul, Walker equals Dylan Carlson? Question mark. Could be.
I hope not, but you can't rule out the possibility at this point. And what's really tricky about it is the Cardinals are here in a chase for a playoff spot, whether that's in the division or in the wild card, and they're going to begin to give the playing time of that bucket of younger players that are looking for opportunity to the ones that have performed better more recently. And right now that's not Walker.
And now they're not worried about a guy like Burleson going against left-handed pitching either.
Yeah.
Right. And Gorman has hit left-handers better of late. Donovan is going to hit left-handed pitchers. So there's less, at least this is the way that it's been explained to me by the skipper. Nootbaar is going to play against left-handed pitching. They're really comfortable with Donovan hitting against left-handed pitching.
Yep.
Burleson's numbers are right there now. His splits are pretty even, lefty and righty, and they like the way that Gorman has hit lefty. So that was going to be the wheelhouse for Jordan Walker. He was going to at least get that opportunity because they expected him to be great against everybody. Well, now these guys that they didn't expect, not all of them, to be really good against left-handed pitching are there. So if they can hit lefties and they're productive, and Walker isn't productive against left-handed pitching, what happens?
The name that I think is most interesting in that conversation and becomes more of an opportunity for Jordan Walker is still Nolan Gorman.
Mm-hmm.
The home run last night maybe sets him a little more straight, and we see what it looks like today. He'll probably be in the lineup tonight. I'm checking the starter for the Cubs is a righty Tyone tonight, so that'll probably be Gorman's opportunity. But then the next couple of days, it's going to be lefties. It's going to be Boyd on Wednesday, and then Imanaga is going to come back for the Cubs and pitch on Thursday. So I'm looking at last night, great to see from Gorman. The prior 2 series, though, he did have a mini slump, 1 for 16 with 10 strikeouts, did walk 4 times over that span. But if Gorman, has an 0 for 4 tonight with 3 Ks, you kind of look at that and say, all right, maybe this is where we mix Jordan Walker back in. Walker historically, though, hasn't necessarily been better against left-handed pitching either. That was something that we talked about last year. So Gorman's the one that I feel like they might have some verbal confidence in him facing lefties, but when pushes come to shove in the past, they actually mean it when it comes to Donovan, when it comes to Nootbaar. And I think Burleson as well, when they put him in that game against Kershaw the other week, and he had some good at-bats, that was pretty telling about, they trust him to take those tough lefty starters and give him some fits.
And by the way, Gorman's recent success has taken him from horrific to just awful against lefties. He's only hitting 115, but he was like 060 against lefties before this recent stretch.
Yeah, and I think with 2 lefties coming up later this week, I'm not saying it's going to mean no Gorman for either of the final 2 Cubs games, but I think Walker will probably be in there for at least one, probably both, and they'll try to find a way to, jumpstart him again, because they would prefer to have all these guys going at the same time, to where it's a more difficult conversation of who you leave out on a daily basis. But right now, I think it is a little simpler to say Walker's been the one not performing, and so he's the one probably with the short end of the stick.
And I want to say, so Gorman's career numbers are much better, but this season's numbers suck. Whereas Burleson's career numbers are much worse, but this season's numbers are really
against
good.
lefties.
Against lefties,
yeah, because
their splits historically, it's kind of like they're they're complete opposites of each other. So there's the historical reason to be like, maybe Gorman can find it. And then there's the
you have to blend those.
Reason, Burleson, let's go. Let's ride the
you kind of have to blend those, wouldn't you, Randy? Like, what have you seen in the past? What are you seeing now? The coaching staff, that's the kind of stuff that they have to be on the lookout for when they're in meetings and saying, what are we actually going to get from this guy if we plug him in today against this lefty? And
I think that one of the things that Brant Brown has changed in Burleson is when we talk about danger, he says, hey, like you're talking about that pitch that was up in his neck in Chicago last week, use your bat to ball skills, because his bat to ball skills are probably the best of any hitter on the team.
That's probably right.
That's healthy right now. Herrera's right there.
Yeah.
But he can hit anything. So if he swings with authority, rather than just trying to hit it the other way or just trying to get a hit, swing with authority, because if you hit the ball with authority, then you're going to hit for extra base.
16 batted balls last night, 99.7 or more on the exit velocity. So the Cardinals obviously were making some good contact. And again, like I said, if you look at the pitching matchups, Ben Brown stood out as the one guy that you needed to be able to get to. It took him a bit to do it last night. I think they mentioned the shadows being a factor. That game was very strange in the early innings with like a 5-minute first inning, and the guy's just not really seeing the ball well. But once they got another look at him, the lefties in that lineup really produced. That was good to see.
Yeah. I like this one from Henry Wells. I saw the Instagram post about playing Gorman over Nolan Arenado. If you're trying to run a Hall of Fame third baseman out of town when we're 3.5 out, is that the Cardinal way? No. I can tell you that the Cardinals had a pretty good Hall of Famer by the name of Stan Musial in 1963, who was in a precipitous decline. And people wanted to keep him around. He ultimately retired. The Cardinals won the World Series in 1964. Just because you are a future Hall of Famer, and there's no doubt that Nolan Arenado is. He reached that with 350 home runs. Just because you are a future Hall of Famer doesn't mean that you are going to deliver Hall of Fame performance right now at the age of 34 when you're in your 4th year of decline. I'm not saying run Nolan Arenado out of town. I'm just saying that I don't expect him to be the player he was when he earned this Hall of Fame status.
I also want to point out the context around that post was that Randy was directly pointing out they're not going to take at-bats away from Arenado because of the political side. You were literally saying they're not going to take away at-bats from a guy who continually keeps saying, I want to be here, I want to help this team win. They're also not going to do it while he's in a 3-week stretch where he is hitting the ball. Mm-hmm. The overall point of that was, though, pointing out that Gorman is, or that Arenado is closing in on 2 years of slugging below 450.
Yeah.
And that's a tangible, real reason to move him out of the line, or to move some of his at-bats out of the lineup. But if he continues hitting like he has over the last 3 weeks, you combine all these things. And yeah, you're right. Don't touch him.
And I actually don't think you move him for the other reason, because he's a league average hitter right now, playing Gold Glove caliber third base, in my opinion. And I don't think Nolan Gorman is even probably a median third baseman. Maybe that's not fair because we haven't seen it a lot recently, but I don't think he's really a median level second baseman either. And third base is generally a little tougher to play. So I also don't think Nolan Gorman, if you gave both of them 550 plate appearances, I'm taking Arenado's batting stats. Gorman will probably hit more homers, but his average will be 50 to 60 points lower. The on base will probably be lower, and the strikeouts will be tremendously higher. And I'm probably taking the OPS of Arenado, even with the drop-off in power that he has absolutely had. He's a different type of hitter now. Mm-hmm. He'll run into him every once in a while where it looks vintage, but it's just not something he's been able to sustain. I'm still fine with Arenado. 1.4 wins above replacement on Baseball Reference.
He's playing in his age 34 season.
Yep.
In his age 31 season, he had an 891 OPS. Age 32, 774. Age 33, 719. This year, 718. His OPS pluses have gone down. You talked about being league average right now. Gone down from 151 to 108 to 101 to 99. Ordinarily in 2025, and I got to throw that caveat in there because you guys can go back to 1985 or 88 to 2004, and you can find players that got better at the age of 34. They are there, but they aren't as much in 2025.
Let's Turn 2 says Arenado's on an 11-game hitting streak with 3 home runs in that span. Why would sitting him now even be a question? Because the conversation was 10 days ago, and at that point he was on like a 4-game hitting streak, and Nolan Gorman had yet to go 1 for 16 in the last 7 games as well. So yes, when the conversation is 7 games ago,
time marches
and over
on.
the last 7 games, Arenado keeps hitting and Gorman doesn't. It looks stupid, but the reason we were having the conversation is Gorman's having a hot streak. Arenado's slug was like 440, and we were trying to figure out at bats. I do also want to say while we're having this conversation, it's hilarious to me that Jordan Walker was taking ground balls at third base yesterday.
That's fun.
I actually, people were asking me about that too, and I was like,
it's so funny.
It's funny maybe, but I don't really make anything of it yet.
It's nothing.
Like if there's a conversation where they say, yeah, this is the reason we're doing this, then you pay attention. But that's the kind of stuff that happens pretty frequently just to get guys. You do a lot of stuff throughout a 6-month baseball season. I don't think that was anything as of yet.
And you jumped out while we're having this conversation.
I know.
It'd be so perfect.
There's nothing wrong. In fact, I think it's a positive until you go to arbitration with a player being versatile. And Walker was a third baseman until he wasn't when on the day the Cardinals traded Harrison Bader. They said that they didn't want to play him in the outfield or another position, Jordan Walker, because they were concerned about how moving positions would affect his offense. Obviously, yeah. So now that's not an issue. But I asked, and I didn't throw Walker's name in there about the infield, but I asked Hali Marmol on Friday about giving outfield gloves to Herrera and Gorman, and he said, well, we thought about it. It's not something that has not been discussed, but with Herrera, before we have that conversation, we're going to explore all options with him in regards to being a catcher. We don't want to give up on him being a catcher, because if you can get him to be a league average defensive catcher with that bat,
I agree,
then you got something.
But I've seen Gorman, what they do.
They haven't really considered it with Gorman,
and I wouldn't with Gorman either. I do remember a spring training where I saw Gorman in the outfield shagging. That was like 3 or 4 years ago, and I was like, I don't think so. But with Herrera, what they actually do is not catch him. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's hard to. I think that's true. They would like to explore, but it feels more like kicking the can down the road until the inevitable change. I don't believe that they believe that Herrera is going to eventually stick at catcher. I think if you had Pages playing at a higher level defensively and Herrera obviously healthy, that would then become more of a conversation. Pages has had more pass balls recently. His blocking has taken a hit, and that's got to be shored up if he's going to be this stalwart in the lineup where they want him to be. So we'll kind of see as time marches on. Obviously not as relevant of a topic while Herrera's out for 6 weeks, but we'll see as the end of the season, especially where are the Cardinals in the standings too. That'll tell you what they really think about when Herrera comes back. Is he catching a bunch? Okay, then they really think he might have it. If they tail off in the standings, maybe that's more of an opportunity to try it.
And if you're going to make a dramatic change with most players, especially a guy that can hit, you have to make them think it's their idea, right? It's not a really good idea to, like with Contreras, they said, hey, we've got Pages. Do you feel like playing first or the outfield? He said, yeah, Contreras, without an ego, said, yeah, I'll go play first base. Donovan obviously goes anywhere. They knew with Jordan Walker, they said, well, we've got Nolan Arenado now, so you're not going to play third eventually. So that's why he wound up moving to the outfield. But there has to be, as the old term goes, an acceptance on the part of the player if you're going to move him and switch positions. And I think with Herrera, that probably, like you say, Brendan, is inevitable. And with Gorman, I wonder what the deal is. I wonder if they look at him as a DH, or if they think that they can still move Arenado's contract after this year. Or maybe they're saying, you know what, Gorman's just going to be essentially a DH, part-time second baseman, part-time third baseman, but he's not. I have no idea if this is the case, by the way, but I don't know what their feelings are about Gorman being in one spot for the future.
I don't know what their feelings are about Gorman in future being in the same conversation. Like, I don't think he profiles as a guy that comes off the bench and gives you a really tough AB as a pinch hitter. But if you get through this season and the numbers didn't materialize, do you look to move him? Do you look to say, hey, in the way that we're constructed this next year, there is no more talk of runway. He's around because we couldn't move him, but he's not necessarily a guy that's guaranteed a lot of playing time. Like, I don't really know what his future looks like, to the extent that I think positional viability for Gorman, not as big of a question of, hey, is he going to hit a home run tonight if we put him in the lineup? They need to see the bat before it becomes like we're moving him to another position where there's probably somebody hitting better than that's already going to be gobbling up the playing time.
All right. The Cardinals playing tonight against the Cubs, and we need to have you get involved with DraftKings. That's one of the fun things about sports. I've teamed up with DraftKings to bring you Pick Six, the all-new way to play fantasy sports, and there really is no more fun way to watch sports and get involved in sports than being involved with DraftKings Pick Six. And with the way the Cardinals are going, man, it's a great time of year to watch baseball because this is what it's all about right now. And I know that you're a big fan of Pick Six. I know Matthew is a big fan of DraftKings Pick Six. And we're going to come up with a little bet for you here. There's nothing like DraftKings Pick Six, is there? I mean, you pick somebody to do a great job tonight. So as an example, here's what we got going tonight. We've got the Cardinals taking on the Cubs.
By the way, yesterday, I went with Pete Armstrong and William Contreras, or Wilson Contreras, excuse me. Both of them got on base multiple times. Did very well for me.
I remembered that as I saw PCA's double. I thought,
that cash it, baby. That cash it.
Well done. All right, so we're talking all about these Cardinal left-handed hitters, and I'm just having the debate here about which Cardinal left-handed hitter I want to go with tonight.
It's got to be Burley. I mean, he's
so
fourth something 346 in June.
You're getting power. You're getting on base. I mean, he's had everything.
One and a half hits, run, and RBI more on Alec Burleson, I think, is a gimme. And I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if there's a different Cub to put in. I just keep rolling with Pico Armstrong.
Yeah.
I hate what the Mets did by giving them him.
He's the next. He's the next in this rivalry.
Thorn in our side for a damn decade.
Yeah, but you know what? They had to give up Javi Baez to get him, though.
That had to hurt.
It probably hurts really bad right now if you're a Mets fan, right? All right, so I like that play then. Let's go with Burleson at 1.5. And then you know who's hot is a guy who grew up around the Cardinals, Jackson Holiday. He went 3 for 5 last night with 4 RBIs. I'm going to play him the same way. I'm going to go plus 1.5 hits and runs and RBI. So Burley and Jackson Holiday, and that'll be the way that I play DraftKings Pick Six, and you can too. You'll be locked into every pitch, every play. And right now, if you're a new customer, just play $5 and get $50 in bonus picks to keep the action going. It's easy to start, fun to follow, and gives you a whole new way to stay connected to and watch the game. Download the DraftKings Pick Six app today and use code STL Sports when you sign up. Only on DraftKings Pick Six. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick Six not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick Six credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at picksix.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, we've got a Burley stat.
Breaking
news.
Thought I would look it up since you're picking him on DraftKings Pick Six. Burleson against Jamison Tyone, 6 for 15 with 2 doubles and 2 homers for his career. So batting 400 with a 930 slug for your guy on DraftKings Pick Six. So that's a nice way to start it off there.
Very, very nice. Let's talk some Blues hockey. By the way, the Blues unveiled their new jerseys this morning. Do we have a picture of the jersey, Matthew? They're doing modification of their Saturday night jersey, and it's going to look very retro. They're going to go with the baby blues on a regular basis.
Okay.
And your classic Blues jerseys that have been in place for a long time, they are not going away. You'll still see those occasionally because fans do like them. But yeah, we're going to have a new Blues jersey. Are we playing the video here? Do you want to do the audio too? Monty doing the.
I just have it.
Here it is.
Visual interpretation as we talk over it.
See some of the things as we talk over it. Yeah.
Because
what's
Colton
today's
Parayko,
Tom Sawyer? What does that mean?
Colton Parayko in the white jersey right off the bat. This looks so clean.
Yep, new looking. There's the new, different shaped blue note.
A little sharper, right? A little sharper on the edges.
Yeah, I really like it.
I think it's good.
And then when we get to the baby blues, I think you'll love those too. Although I wish they would wear white at home and the blue on the road.
I tell you what, I've never been a big wear white at home, but Colton Parayko showing out in that jersey, I say wear white at home.
That is a nice looking.
Yeah, it's a
looks good.
crazy, stupid, foolish league rule. There's the baby blues.
Okay,
Looks fantastic.
I'm into them.
And by the way, Colton, very hyped about these. Yeah, I do too. I think those are really nice looking jerseys.
Honestly, one of the best parts might be the video is fantastic. The jerseys look great, but what I'm really pumped about is look at the new logos, like the secondary logos.
Oh yeah, they're old logos that they almost used one time.
So I love a new STL. We've been using the same STL in the city for a very long time. So we got a new STL using the treble clef. You put the treble clef in to make a new fleur-de-lis. You got the trumpet with like the river waves. I like these alternate logos. They're having fun.
All right, you got to tell us what you think. Get in the chat room and tell us what you think of these. I am completely on board, and not that I disliked the old ones, but this is fresh and new, and I think it's really cool. So I'm a fan of the new ones.
I think either of those, the fleur-de-lis and the new STL, would look really clean on a hat. I think I think the hat is the way to go.
They have the hats going already.
Very good.
And they look absolutely incredible.
Yeah, so it's good to have the new Blues jersey, and Blues Director of Business Affairs Steve Chapman is going to join us tomorrow here in the studio, so we're looking forward to that. He had to do jersey stuff today, so he was running around. But we will talk more Blues tomorrow. But I really and we've got a poll up now. Do you like the new Blues jersey? I'm going to vote yes.
You should be voting yes because they're fantastic. I also want to say, so now we're going to actually have Blues guests back to back on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Days on the show, I will say, because tomorrow we're going to have Steve Chapman to talk about the jerseys, and then on Thursday, assistant GM Tim Taylor is going to join us to talk about development camp, the upcoming draft, and dive into some of the intricacies of the young Blues, as Armstrong reiterated their focus on 21 to 25-year-old players on this roster rebuild, or roster build, I should say.
Yeah, we'll touch on that. I just want to talk about jerseys, talking with the soul. I like them. My only complaint is that there's no outline on the numbers and names. Love the new logos. I was asking one of the Blues front office people about the old, the one with the arch, that jersey, and that was not a big favorite in the building, but it was a favorite. I guess the fans really liked it, so we may see it again, even though it's not a favorite. But going back to those, remember the Navy, and they had the white numbers and the white letters. I thought those were really cool. I don't dislike the yellow, but if you had a white outline for the numbers in the back, that'd be pretty cool too. And I think that's a really good one. And the new logo, all of those logos are really cool. And the new shaped blue note, Kylie Hansen, I love it. The STL is fire.
The STL is, I think, my favorite of the alternate logos. The one that I want to see. I want to see that on a couple of different shaped caps. I know, Rock, you're going to have to find a particular cap to make sure it fits your head. But there was a big realization Rocchio had yesterday during the show, where he was seeing me on the screen next to him and how big his head looked, and he had sort of a crisis about it.
I know my head. Get out of here. I know my head is big. I'm aware of that. I accepted it. But yesterday on the show, it was just me and B-Shape.
It was a crisis.
And my head looked massive compared to his. Like it was like somebody had blown up a balloon next to B-Shape's head and just like colored my face onto it. It was ridiculous. I will say, the hats are coming out. They look incredible.
Okay.
The fleur-de-lis, the new fleur-de-lis that I put up, I love that. And in fact, Cam Jansen earlier on the Lou information station had a Freudian slip and called it a fleur-de-lou.
Oh,
and honestly,
pretty good.
I think he did something there.
So back in the day when Bruce Bochy was the manager of the San Francisco Giants, they did a promo for, I think it was Cap Day, and the promo started, "Hi, I'm Bruce Bochy, manager of the San Francisco Giants. And yes, I do have an unusually large head."
Let's just get that out of the way at the beginning of the promo.
And then it was Cap Day.
I got to, we should, if we ever come out with STL Sports Central hats, we should just copy that word for word. Just be, I'm Matthew Rocchio. And yes, I have a huge head.
You need one of those big ones that the guy who was that
the
giant hats.
Do we have the bubble? Can you put yourself in the bubble?
Oh, I can't put myself. I can't put myself in the bubble.
Okay, I want to see this. Okay.
I'd like to bubble you.
I need to see Matthew in the bubble, because whenever I have been out to play golf with Matthew Rocchio, I don't think I've ever seen you wear a cap. Are you a cap guy?
I do not wear hats because
Can't be. Look at him.
when I have this. Yeah,
I mean, I was just saying.
when you got this head of hair.
Oh, is that what it is?
not for
Glorious.
V-shaped
Hey,
reasons.
Hey, sometimes I put a hat on. Just
I'll say this right
kinda-
now: the largest fitted at a lids does fit me comfortably.
Is
Okay.
that an 8 or an 8 1/4?
I think it's an 8.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
it's an 8 even.
Yeah.
I actually think 7 and whatever the one right below that is it 3/8 or
Mhm.
7 and
7/8 probably.
7 and 7/8 I actually think is my actual fitted cap size. If I
Okay.
don't have a ton of hair.
That's
The
the
other
problem
part
when
is-
your hair is longer.
The
It,
other part of this is that I have very thick hair.
Yep. It's
and
glorious.
So, and I don't cut it very often, and so it just adds like 3 or 4 inches. Even right now, if you just if B Shape and me were at the same level, it would look so large.
Oh,
compared to
yeah.
Brendan's.
I gave you some
have a
credit
normal
though.
sized head,
I
not a
gave
tiny
you some
head,
credit.
No,
I
he's
said
a P-head and you're Shrek.
the camera angle kind of made it even worse. It's not your fault entirely.
And you're
A pea head?
He called you a pea
Hey,
head.
my head's somewhat regularly sized, but now we're getting too deep into the weeds on my aesthetic. But
I'm just saying, I want to put out a screenshot from yesterday's show because
Okay,
it
we'll
was
find it.
and the worst part is I've been in photos and on camera with Brendan before, and it had never looked that bad.
It was pretty funny.
So weird.
Okay, we've got a couple of more chats on the new jerseys. Hockey Dad Don, I wish they would put St. Louis back inside of the blue note. I'm really a coin flip on that. Where do you guys stand on? I think I would lean more towards not having
like the
it.
letters,
Yep.
the words
But
themselves.
do the new jerseys have that? We've got. Is there any reference to St. Louis on the new jerseys? I want to see because I haven't looked closely enough at them. But I would like to have a reference to St. Louis, but I don't know if I want the St. Louis inside the blue note.
No, I think it looks cleaner and simpler without anything extra in there.
Yeah, and even everybody knows
You're right.
if you put STL in there, right? That everybody around the NHL knows. Well, all the hockey fans know that you're the St. Louis Blues. But if somebody is wearing this jersey on stage and it's a non-hockey fan that is at the concert, I would like to have some reference somewhere to STL on the jersey.
I think that's fair. I like them so much though that I'm finding it hard to nitpick.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, I'm a fan.
and that's not even a nitpick. That's,
Yeah.
that's just if they can do it, great. If not, no big deal. That's the way I'm looking at it. How cool though that you think about this, and you can watch a video at stlblues.com. I say this with all due respect. If they were turning out new jerseys last offseason, would they have had Drew Bannister narrating the new jerseys?
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah, Jimmy Montgomery, Monty is narrating this. I don't think you have Drew Bannister narrate your new jerseys.
That's such a good point, Randy. And
We knew the
one of
deal.
that was kind of one of the clips from Army's availability yesterday. He kind of talked about just his excitement for having a full season with this group under Monty, and that's a real thing. Not having to win every single game to make the playoffs certainly changes the white knuckling that you're doing for those last 2 or 3 months of the season. So I think that'll help.
They're going to be in a good spot. Everybody knows my feelings and how hard I took the end of the season, but they're going to be in a really good spot with a full year of Monty. That's who they wanted. They just had to wait a little longer to get him, and they're in a good spot
Randy,
now.
yesterday I was prefacing the launch today, and I turned to B-Shape. I'm like, tomorrow they're gonna have new jerseys. Isn't that great? And B-Shape's response was, I just wish they would learn not to give up goals in the last 2 minutes.
So I was just gonna say,
Jesus Christ,
okay,
Brendan.
Jimmy
I know
Montgomery's
it's harsh.
yeah,
I know.
Monty's first training camp with the Blues. It'll be a full house at Centene when they have their first training camp practice in September. You'll probably be there, but have your phone so you can listen and watch us too. But here's the thing. First drill, first day of camp, Blues, you've got a sixth attacker and you're learning how to defend that.
I think you'll get a
Right?
standing O from the
Yeah,
crowd
yep.
if you do that.
First drill. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Pack Pat, I'm with you. I loved that navy jersey with the arch. I used to have that hoodie. I don't know if I still have that hoodie at home because I'm not a jersey guy. I think a lot of people know that I'm not, but I am a hoodie guy. And that that was a spectacular logo developed by the former ownership.
Back to what you said earlier, I grew up as a big football fan. I kind of became okay with the color jersey at home, as opposed to the classic baseball and basketball of your home jersey's white. And this is the first time I've ever seen a Blues jersey and gone the home white. It would work better as a home white. The white jersey pops, and that was one of JR's tweets. In person, the white of the jersey just pops.
Here's my thing.
I love that. I would love a home white.
So you see for 81 games, you see the same dark jersey. Well, and obviously you have your alternates, right? But you see 2 or 3 dark jerseys. But you get to see a white jersey on every other team. Don't you love the idea of Montreal coming into town with that legendary red sweater, or the Blackhawks coming into town so that you can literally see red? Or don't you like the idea of seeing the LA Kings wearing their black, their silver and black? Don't you like the idea of seeing Toronto wearing their classic blue jerseys? Don't you love the idea of the Bruins coming in wearing that black and gold, or the Penguins? Everybody's wearing the white jersey when they come into your building. So it's blue versus white every single night. I would love to see all the different colored jerseys coming in.
Yeah, I agree. That you painted a nice picture there, and it is. I don't know why they don't do it that way. It makes sense to me, makes sense to us, but we just haven't seen it.
So it's something that we absolutely need to work on. King Bash, this jersey is super clean, but in your opinion, what is the worst jersey the Blues have had in their franchise? I know the one with the arch is debatable, but they weren't that bad. No, I liked that one. I liked the one. I think I would kind of jump on board with the people that didn't like last year's Winter Classic jersey. That was not great. As I think back, well, you know what? All due respect to it might have been Hockey Dad Don who liked the STL with the St. Louis inside the blue note. The home one with the blue diagonal was not a big fan of. I don't mind the red diagonal on the road.
I like the ones that have the red in there. I'm into that a little bit, but yeah, I don't think they need the St. Louis in the logo. It looks cleaner without.
And it's a shame that that's the only jersey, the only sweater that Wayne Gretzky wore, because so many people have those Gretzky sweaters. So when Gretzky played here, you're too young to remember this, so I'll pass along a little fun fact for you. So Gretzky's here for 18 regular season games and playoff games in 1996 at the end of the season. They get him in February. He leaves as a free agent. In the interim, from the time they got him at the end of February and the playoffs, guy named Gus's Fashions on Washington Avenue. He sold a lot of jerseys, had a lot of cool stuff. Great guy. Gus Torregrossa. I don't know if he's still with us or not. Maybe you can weigh in on the chat if he is. But anyway, he had a place on Washington that sold all kinds of jerseys and, from different teams, but all the St. Louis ones. I wound up getting a bunch of McGuire jerseys too. But Gus ordered 10,000 Wayne Gretzky jerseys.
No.
And then he signs with the Rangers as a free agent. So Gus is stuck with all of these Gretzky jerseys for years. But a lot of people, I don't know if they've kept them or if they bought the retro jerseys.
Probably.
But it's amazing how often you see them. At least every Blues game you go to, you see the retro Gretzky sweater, right?
Yeah, I think at this point it's like kind of a nice novelty, because you can say, hey, he did play for our team and we can claim him, and he's as good as there is in the history of the sport. And so that is kind of something that I think comes back around to people.
Matthew, what do you got for us?
I want to have some fun with the question from King Bash. So really quickly, I'm going to add this to the screen. So if you guys look at this right now at the bottom of the screen, get a better look of it here. Oh, nope.
Okay.
So you can look at all the Blues jerseys through the years. And I think
we can find our worst.
I think
and best.
Randy, I think this 84 to 87 run.
Yeah, the Blues.
Harry Ornest, yeah.
Not great here.
No.
I also think we can all agree that 08 to 14 is a pretty down looping as well.
Yeah.
No, that's my one. That's the Navy one there.
I like the
Navy one's okay.
But look at the home and away and compare this home and away in 08 to 14 compared to 2018 to present. Just how much better with the exact same elements.
Oh, just because
the home
of
and
the
away
babies,
are.
yeah.
Because like the bottom part's better, the arm stripes are better. I think 08 to 14, other than the alternate, which I agree with you, I think 08-14 was a little bit of a rough era, and then I think 84 to 87.
Yeah,
probably some of the worst like regular jerseys.
Yeah, the Harry Arnest years were not good. Go back to that. The Harry Arnest. Just scroll down. Yeah, that was and then Keenan actually had that was the Keenan era with the one you see on the lower right there with the red diagonal. That was and the blue diagonal too. Yeah, but those the Ruth Arnest, the owner's wife, designed the Harry Arnest jerseys. So that was a rough era. I'm with you there.
The 2008 to 14 ones, the white ones kind of looked like pajamas to me.
Yeah.
Not into those as much.
Yeah. Mason Windu. So many NHL teams have terrible jerseys, in my opinion. Blues usually do a really good job with their jerseys. There are an inordinate amount of bad NHL jerseys. And I brought up the Kings. I don't know that you could find a more boring NHL jersey than the Kings. And they need to refresh.
And the sad part is that in the 90s, when they were using the Lakers color scheme, it was fun. They were using it was garish, but it was the fun garish because it was the bright purple and gold.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, with a name like Kings, you could do just about anything color-wise, and they choose not to.
And they're back to basically the same thing that they had with Gretzky from the late 80s to the mid 90s.
Purple and gold literally is what a team named the Kings should be colored. You're 100% right.
Yeah, but you look at some of the teams out there that's a bad one. Obviously, the Detroit Red Wings have the worst sweater in all the sports.
I noticed you didn't mention wanting to see that come into Enterprise Center.
It's stupidity. It really is just complete stupidity. It's an amazing thing to me that a team that was in the original six could consistently have such a stupid jersey and stay in business. It's remarkable. But somebody likes them. I don't know who. Well, they took over our building, and we did start Punch a Red Wing Fan in the Face Day, and that was very successful, eminently successful. But I like Calgary. I like Edmonton's orange. Not a huge fan of the Sharks. I can take it or leave it. That's kind of
I kind of like the
benign
Sharks.
Disdain, not even a disdain, just benign feeling about the Sharks jerseys. Nashville, I can go either way.
Any
on
other
that.
sport, the Avalanche's jerseys are ugly.
Yeah, but in this
sport,
but it
they're
works
not.
in NHL.
Yeah.
Yep. Like the classic Rangers, like the Flyers. I like their orange. Penguins are fine. Washington's just kind of the same. Blah. Devils, yeah. Columbus, Carolina, Toronto. Toronto could add a little color, right? Just maybe a little red in there.
I don't mind Toronto. I think it's kind of a classic look.
It is classic because it's the same jersey they've had since the 40s.
I guess that's fair.
So, but yeah, I'm okay. So I'm on board with the new Blues jerseys. Now let's talk a little bit about the Blues themselves. Army met with the media yesterday. I was playing in the Folds of Honor golf tournament, so I didn't get an opportunity to take part in the Army Q&A. I would have asked the tough questions and held them accountable.
Well, yeah.
Because
obviously.
I do.
I know.
You know that's what I do for all the sports teams here in town. I hold them accountable.
Yes.
Because that's what you expect of me.
He does it so I don't have to. Yes.
Yeah. But he did mention that Torrey Krug will not play next year. Torrey Krug, let's be honest about this. Torrey Krug's career is over. He ain't playing anymore. Okay. So let's just start there. He also mentioned with Joel Hofer, or is it Yoel? Okay. If somebody puts in a bid for Joel Hofer on offer sheeted, he said, quote, "It won't be we didn't match it because we couldn't afford it. It'll be because we didn't match it because we thought the value we were getting back was better. And that value would have to start with a first-round pick, or else we'll just match it." He went on to say, "I'm not saying we wouldn't match it with a first either, but I guess this is my shot across the bow. You can go after him. You're not going to get him."
And part of that he also acknowledged, because the Krug part of it is that because of the LTIR, they have 11+ million in cap space. So his point is like, I have enough cap space to do whatever I want. Yeah. So come for him. I'll get the draft pick, or
I'll win either way.
Is
his stance.
I ain't worried about it. And also, I just think the fact that he's talking about the money too. So if it's going to cost, because it doesn't sound like he's expecting to have to go all the way up to 4 to get the Hofer compensation. So he's still going to have, $8 million to work on that center and defenseman. I like
But
that.
he says they aren't going big into free agency because of the rise in the cap. And he said teams will be more willing to hand out a bad contract now because they have cap space. So the money is literally the cap space burning a hole in those teams' pockets. So he said, I'm not saying we're not going to be active on July 1st, talking and finding out who's out there, what it is, but I can see the headlines now. Wow, teams around the NHL overpaid for that guy. We're not bargain shopping. It's not like we're afraid to get in the other market, but it would have to make sense for us to do that. And he foresees teams going overboard and signing free agents because of the enhancement of cap room that teams will have. And he says they don't want to play in those waters. And he's one thing about Army, he's really good about building the puzzle over the course of 4 or 5 years. So when he's talking about not signing Broberg or, and by the way, I want to make a point about this, Broberg or Holloway or Fowler to extensions now, because he knows he's going to have to sign those guys eventually. Well, you don't want to have a free agent that's gumming up the works as you try to sign your own guys. Now, here's my point, Brendan. I am of the opinion that with those guys, and maybe they evaluate their players differently than I evaluate their players. I guess they do. But for Broberg and Holloway, with what they showed in their first season with the Blues, it's kind of a pay me now or pay me later situation, right? You could give them 8 times 8, both 8 times 8 now, and probably get them both. They have good seasons next year. You might have an AAV of 9, 9.5, or 10.
Yeah, you're kind of, you don't want to bet against your own guys that you think are foundational players, but that's essentially what you're doing if you wait. And if you have the cap space now to, sort of decide rather than maybe make as big of a splash in free agency, you say, let's shore up what we've got because what we've got is pretty good. We've got young players on the rise that can potentially supplement from within. I think they'll add a name for sure, but maybe the way you kind of dell out some of that cap space is to lock up your guys at the price that hopefully in a perfect world they exceed down the road. I guess the question would be, if you do it and then you end up sitting on a contract that you regret, does that come from an injury to one of those guys? Does that come from, is there a realm in which you see them dropping their performance? I don't really think so at their respective ages. So that is a question. I don't know. I'm of the mind that you lock them up if it's semi-reasonable to do it and you've got the cap space. Yeah,
and they don't have the ability to negotiate extensions with those players until after the 1st of July. And the actual quote from Doug Armstrong yesterday and regarding extensions for those 3 was, I don't plan on having any big conversations prior to next season. Cam is a hell of a player, hell of a year. If he was 26, the dynamic changes. Broberg and Holloway have got years before their UFAs. We'd love those players to stay here well past next year, but it's not something that is a priority that we feel has to be accomplished in July. So maybe they have those conversations during the season next year.
Possibly. That is such candor. Yeah, if he was 26, maybe we would do.
Well, yeah.
Have you ever heard John Mozeliak talk like that? Like,
no.
Yeah, here's the deal. If he was 26, we'd probably do it. But here now he's just too. I mean,
but he does say to us candidly.
Yeah.
But then, we don't get
not
like
quite that level of candor. I think by saying candidly, you're able to sort of imply that there's candor that follows.
Exactly.
But he's, and understandably tries to be more careful with what he says, because when he says the wrong thing, people jump him. But I just thought with Armstrong, he's like, well, no, if he was 26, maybe. Like, that's just so good. I love that.
Yeah. Hey, I had a great time yesterday with my buddy Chuck Nash from the Fenton Bar and Grill on Rudder Road in Fenton. We played together at the Folds of Honor Golf Tournament, and Chuck is such a great guy. And Fenton Bar and Grill is so philanthropic, and they helped us out with the tournament. And if you are looking for the greatest meal that you'll have today, head on over to the Fenton Bar and Grill. They've got a great patio. The dining space is fabulous. They have absolutely wonderful servers. Stop by and say hi to Megan and Jamie and Candy and the gang. They're really fantastic, and they'll treat you really well, and you'll become friends. And when you go into the Fenton Bar and Grill, you're going to meet people that will become your friends, because you're going to walk in there and you're going to be talking sports as you eat and enjoy the best trashed wings that you'll ever have. They've been making these trashed wings for years over at the Fenton Bar and Grill. That's what they're famous for. You see it, home of the best trashed wings, and they're fantastic. I have them with ranch. You can have them with buffalo, their signature golden sauce and ranch, or you can go with their golden sauce. But you don't have to have just the trash wings either. They have a fantastic menu. As a matter of fact, their trash tenders sandwich is really hot now. People are loving the trash tenders sandwich and the trash tenders wrap. Yeah, you'd love that, right?
That sounds phenomenal.
Yeah.
Trash tenders and put it on some bread. Yeah, I'm about it.
It's spectacular. If you've never had the trash wings, you have to check them out. But at this time of year where it's hot in St. Louis, they have delicious salads. Their Cobb salad with perfectly seasoned turkey, delicious ham, spectacular fresh lettuce. It's good, and it'll keep you cool. They have wonderful wraps as well. And if you're in the mood for a burger, you'll have a great burger as well at the Fenton Bar and Grill. It's a great place to stop after you play golf, maybe a business lunch. Maybe you want to have a great dinner or a business meeting. The Fenton Bar and Grill is the place to go. Learn more at fentonbarandgrill.com. You can give them a call, and of course, you can stop by just 2 minutes away from the soccer park in Fenton. I love it. You will too. It's the Fenton Bar and Grill. Tell them Randy sent you.
A reaction here to one of the things you said, the trash tender sandwich.
That was the one that caught my ear
and
as
I'm going
well.
to jump out because I got that because I went last Monday, but I had to go for lunch, and so I couldn't do the trashed wings special because that starts at 5 p.m.
5 to 9, right?
5 to 9. So I couldn't do the trash wings special. So I was like, okay, I gotta pivot a little bit. What do I want to do? So I went with the trash tender sandwich, and it's exactly as good as you think it's going to be. Same thing. The buffalo sauce hits, but because it's been trashed, it's tamped down a little bit. Dip your sandwich in a little bit of ranch like I was doing, and it's just the perfect combination.
All right. And this could be Ben. Randy, you have to get them to open a location in Denver. I think that's a great idea. The Fenton Bar and Grill Denver location. You know, when Panera, which is now Panera, started up around the country, it was St. Louis Bread Co. But people were saying, why do I want to go to St. Louis Bread Co. when I'm in Denver? That's why they changed it to Panera.
That's still bread co to me.
Me too. We got the original one right across the street from us. Did you know that's the original?
I did not know that was the original. No.
Yeah. So it, and I have my occasional, and I know that if you know me well, you know that I love the cinnamon crunch bagel bread sliced.
Oh yeah. That's the way to do that.
With regular cream cheese. It's absolutely delicious. So try that next time you're at the original Bread Co. here in Kirkwood, Mo. Yes, this could be Ben. The trash tender sandwich is absolutely delicious.
I need it, he said.
Yeah, me three. So yeah, love you guys. Thank you very much. Okay, I ran across some interesting stuff over the course of the last couple of days. After Game 7 of the NBA Finals on Sunday night, Game 7 of the Finals between Oklahoma City and Indiana, flyover territory, was the most watched NBA Finals game in 6 years, averaging 16.4 million viewers on ABC. The game peaked with 19.3 million viewers at 8:45 p.m. St. Louis time. The 7-game series, which saw the Thunder win their first NBA title, has accounted for the 7 most watched primetime television programs over the past 2 months. That being said, the 7-game average for the series was 1.026. Average rating for the 7-game series, 1.026, the lowest for a series since the 6-game face-off between Milwaukee and Phoenix in 2021. So the overall playoffs were good. The series accounted for highly rated primetime programs and had a recent record, last 7-year record, but overall the rating wasn't great. That just shows how divergent programming is now. There's no way that because you have 60 different options that you can have the kind of ratings that you had even when Michael was playing in the early 90s. There just weren't as many options. Now that you have streaming, now that you have Netflix spending $13 billion a year on content, there's so much other content out there, Brendan and Matthew, that people are going away and finding their own niche things to watch. But if you are sports and you have the 7 highest rated programs over the last couple of months, it's worth it. If you are ESPN, ABC, NBC next year, TNT, that's why they filed suit, Amazon, all of these entities that are going to show the NBA see that number, that they were number 1, and they say, okay, this is going to be worth it for us.
Yeah, I think that's about as good as it gets. And you're right. The competition is greater because people can watch like anything that you can imagine. They can find it to watch it
on your
so
phone.
You have a ton. It's not the same as it used to be, but I would say that is a pretty good sign, especially as you mentioned, considering the markets that were involved. People might think, oh, the TV executives are cringing seeing Oklahoma City and Indianapolis, but I think it ended up going pretty well, all things considered.
And for all of the talk during the season, and by the way, a lot of talking down by the analysts on TV. Charles Barkley consistently talked about how bad the product was. I know this is a thing that bothers Matthew Rocchio, is your analysts talking about how bad the product was, and that's why the ratings were down. Well, the full 2025 postseason playoffs and finals across ABC and ESPN averaged 6.12 million viewers per game, up 10% from last year. The NBA generated a record 5 billion views and counting across all social media platforms during the NBA Finals. That was up 215% from last year. So that's where the future is. The future is in streaming and digital and social media.
Yes, there will be folks of the older generations that will be maybe feeling a little bit left behind by that, and that's probably already happened. People would say, I don't know how to get to access the game. How do I stream? And that is just a facet of our world now. But I think as you continue and integrate it more and more, there will be more and more people who understand how to do it, can access it, are comfortable doing that, and it's going to continue to be the way that we move, obviously.
I think one of the things the folks in basketball have done, and in baseball a little bit, the NFL is the best at this. They're the best at a lot of things. And hockey does it pretty well too, is the 2 to 5 minute segment with highlights is great. It's a great way for somebody who doesn't have a very long attention span to find out what happened in a game.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad thing. If you can't plant yourself in front of a TV for 2.5 hours, or don't want to watch on your phone for 2.5 or 3 hours, it's a great way for people to consume the game. The problem with that is, for the people that are actually producing the sports, it's extremely difficult to monetize a 2 to 5 minute piece on social media.
It is very difficult, and that is going to continue to be with advertisers the thing that they got to figure out, and everybody has to figure out in the way that people consume content nowadays. But it's a times change, and that's kind of where we're at, Randy.
Yeah, and I'm just like anybody with the short attention span, especially because I get up. If there's a West Coast game and I can watch it and see the game in everything I need to see in the game in 5 minutes, I will do that, because I'm waking up at 4 a.m,
right?
And it's just easier for me to do that. But one of the things, and I know that our buddy Brad Thompson uses the cut-ups, the MLB cut-ups. You see every pitch, but you don't have to watch anything between the pitches.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to see everything that happened in a game in the space. It's amazing how you can watch that in like 12 minutes of a 2-hour, 12-minute game.
NFL Network started doing that with and you can, when you cut out everything, you can play an NFL football game. I think they would do it in like 40-minute slots.
Yeah.
Like they would get it down, and you could watch an entire NFL game on just like in an hour time slot on NFL Network, and they would just run like 12 games from the past week throughout the week. That's my favorite way to watch it.
Yeah, it's
a great way to catch up on what happened if you weren't watching live.
I loved that when we had a team and I was willing to pay for the NFL, and I think it even came with my season tickets. But I would literally, because it's our business, and I loved the league, and Matthew was the same way, I would watch every game. Every game that took place during a weekend, so that I kind of knew what was happening. That was what kind of took up my my Mondays and Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Watching every single NFL game that happened during the course of a weekend. Every time.
I kind of feel like I do that on Sunday right now, but that's another matter, I suppose. Fantasy football related.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Red Zone is great.
Speaking of spending money to watch a lot of games, this is a small little tidbit. I don't know where else I could fit it in, but on the Bill Simmons podcast a couple of days ago, there was a situation where Zach Lowe revealed that the Lakers have not been paying for Synergy, which is a subscription service to a database that has all these cameras in all of these in every stadium around the league.
Okay,
and the Lakers apparently the last few years haven't been paying to subscribe to Synergy, which is a service that multiple publications subscribe to so that their NBA writers can do really
be more informed
NBA pieces.
Yeah.
And apparently the Lakers
are a team
weren't even paying for it. And Lowe just threw it in there as a passing thing, but he was doing it during an interview, and now it's been fact checked, and it's they haven't said it's wrong, so it's correct. So it's wild to me a week after the Lakers sale information to now this comes out that a team just isn't paying what again is a lot of money for a regular human being, but is literally a rounding error.
I mean,
for a team like the Lakers to pay for Synergy.
And it's just probably something you have to have as an NBA franchise.
It's unbelievable.
Well, and that franchise, it's interesting to read the book that Jeff Pearlman wrote that Winning Time was based upon, because it's always been under Jerry Buss. It is literally a family-owned mom and pop operation. It's not what you would consider a big corporate, big-time franchise.
And Zach Lowe was throwing this in and part of this interview, essentially to say that the Lakers have spent a lot of money on the team. But if you take away spending roster money, they are one of the cheapest organizations in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
And hearing that blew my mind, because you are not just you are in LA, which means you should have essentially a printing press of American currency, much like the Angels. Every other team does in that area. But then you tack on to the fact that you are the Lakers with that legacy, and you're apparently cheaping out on little things like this. Absolutely insane to me.
It is. Hey, I want to get you guys' reaction to one more basketball thing. And I don't know if you saw that Tyrese Halliburton had his Achilles surgery yesterday and then went to social media. And this is what he wrote about playing with the calf injury. He said, "I do it again and again after that to fight for this city and my brothers." He said, "For the chance to do something special." As revered as people like Reggie Miller and Peyton Manning are in Indy, Peyton Manning got cut and went to Denver, and he still lives in Denver. Now, there's a children's hospital in Indianapolis that bears his name too. But when Tyrese Halliburton, who was the best player on a team that went to the finals and was within one game of the championship, when he writes, "I would do it. I would sacrifice," basically, this is paraphrasing, "I would sacrifice my health and again after that to fight for this city, to fight for you." Does that make him Indianapolis' favorite son? I mean, you see something like that and you're an Indianapolis, if you're an Indianapolisan, but if you live in Indy and you're a sports fan and you see a guy that says, "Yeah, I injured myself and I'd do it again for you," that makes me like revere the guy.
Yeah. I mean, and look, I think to get there, you probably want to see a championship eventually to like really be able to say that. But Peyton Manning is a tough one to top. But like you said, he ends a career in Denver, clearly likes Denver. At least for recency bias, I'll give Tyrese Halliburton the recency bias championship, because that is pretty powerful. I don't know where the Pacers land after this, because they're obviously going to be without him for a year, and he's 25, going to be missing his age 26 season. What does the rest of his career look like there in Indy? But that is a very, very powerful statement. You can't deny that.
I texted our friend Michelle Smallman on their show on ESPN Radio, because with Tatum out, with the Knicks influx getting rid of Tibbs, with Halliburton out, I don't know who the favorite in the West is, or in the East is. I know this sounds really weird, and this is all due respect to Cleveland.
Say it.
I might take Orlando.
Yes.
Dang it.
Yes. Randy, you perfectly dove into a conversation. We were talking about this at the end of the show yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And
both are plus 600 to advance out of the East. Orlando and the Celtics are the same odds on DraftKings.
And we were talking about can Boston without Jason Tatum be a 50-win team?
Not without Holiday.
I don't think so.
They just traded Drew
That
Holiday.
was pre-trade, though.
It
in
was
fairness,
a Holiday trade. Shout out to Grant Salzman, who said as soon as we went off the air, he's like, "What? I think Holiday might be getting moved soon."
Claves walked into the room, and Grant said that right at that moment. We started talking about it, and then it happened that day.
Yeah. So I think we could all say, without Drew, who was the defensive stalwart, kind of started that whole team there. It's not going to be the Celtics. I love that you went with the Magic.
Well, I think the trade they made, and Paolo has a chance to be great. And if they win, if they make the playoffs, he'll be a guy that people gravitate to. The other team, and I'm interested to see what they do this offseason, is Detroit, right? Because Cunningham is going to be one of the best players. He already, they had a chance against the Knicks when the Knicks were all together. And maybe the Knicks they're going to run it back with the same group of guys. But I really like what Orlando has, and I feel bad for fans of the Celtics, fans of the Knicks, fans of the Pacers. The Bucks basically have one guy. I know Connaughton kind of hurt them because he opted in, and he's just a guy. Atlanta doesn't have enough players yet. Trae Young isn't surrounded by they have some good but not great talent. I could see Orlando coming out of the East.
I like the Detroit pick mainly because our boy Jaden Ivey's back healthy to start the year. Hopefully, obviously, knock on wood and everything, he should be. So I like the Detroit pick. Cunningham, Jalen Duran, the second best Thompson twin, because Asar Thompson's a great player, but Amen with the Rockets is an insane game-changing level of player. But yeah, I like the Pistons. That's a good unexpected one.
They are plus 1,600 to emerge from the East. And actually, the odds on Celtics and Magic have changed since the trade. The Celtics have gone from 600 to plus 500, so their odds actually improved after the trade, which is interesting. The Magic are plus 550, so they both went up a little bit since yesterday when we did this.
Everyone was burying the Celtics after that trade, and no doubt it's going to get hard without Drew Holiday. But they also needed a little bit of a kick into the wing with Anthony Simons.
He's a good pickup.
And he's one of those guys where the Trailblazers fans have been waiting for him to break out for 4 years now. And so if it's a change of pace, you get a coaching staff, maybe they can finally unlock it. It could end up being a pretty good trade for the Celtics, but I still would be shocked if they're a 50-win team at this point.
Did you guys like the Thompson twins? They were a pretty good group back in the day.
Unbelievable response.
Hold me now.
Although Vegas agrees with Dallas T. He says, Celtics fans, STL here, Drew was the reason they were losing.
Wow.
Paying top dollar for a guy that was averaging 4 points per game in the playoffs. We're a better team after this trade, not worse.
He did not have a great year, but he also, in this day and age, is a guy that really gave great effort defensively. And what is he, 37 now? He's not going to be the same player. But I don't think it really helps them as much as it doesn't hurt them. And obviously, they're able to dump salary, and that's just the first. They're going to make other moves. If you're a Celtics fan and you think you're going to compete next year, sorry.
I was going to say he'll be 35 this season.
Okay, 35,
and he's a career 37% shooter from deep. And 2 years ago, in his first year in Boston, he hit 43% of threes on almost 5 per game. And so, yeah, he's not going to take over games, but he was the head of the spear on defense, which really what drew, what the straw that stirred the drink of this team. And getting rid of him, he's an incredible leader. And again, their defense is not only going to be worse without him, but I'm not buying Al Horford, Kristaps Porzingis for another year.
No, and by the way, Portland said that the reason they got Holiday back is, and he never played for them, but they had him for a minute. And the reason that they got him is because of his leadership, because of his defense. Okay, let's swing back to the Cardinals here in the last 8 or 9 minutes. Matthew Boyd against Andre Palante. Palante was brilliant Friday night in his last start. Hopefully he can continue that tonight against Chicago. But Matthew Boyd's good. I like this matchup for the Cardinals, though.
Tomorrow, yeah. Tonight's Tyone.
Tyone against McGreevy. And the Cubs haven't seen McGreevy. It's interesting how the Cardinals give him opportunities, give McGreevy opportunities against the good teams, against the Doyers, against the Mets. Not against the White Sox, really, but he's getting an opportunity against the Cubs, and he's getting a real chance to show himself to be a big game pitcher.
Yeah, and he doesn't flinch at these types of opportunities. I mean, what he did against the Mets, maybe still the single most impressive performance by a Cardinal pitcher this season, coming out of the bullpen in game 2 of that doubleheader on May the 4th and throwing 5 2/3 innings of a close game. Like, that wasn't garbage time. That was a tight contested game the whole way through. And that was kind of his arrival for me in a lot of ways. And look, we're still waiting to see more of him. You're going to get the chance to do so tonight. And if he can get through this Cubs lineup with just a requisite start, 5-6 innings, give the Cardinals a chance in this game, let the offense go to work, I think that's going to be another feather in his cap where, yeah, he does continue to get these assignments of some pretty tough opponents and has largely been pretty solid in all of them.
And I kind of liked when the Cubs signed Jameson Taillon. He's not a Cy Young Award winner, but he's the kind of pitcher you need to have to win with. And he's having that year 7-4 with the 3.84. He gives them innings. He's a nice middle of the rotation guy, but if the Cardinals left-handed bats are as hot as they were last night, then it's a pretty good matchup for the Cardinal offense.
Yeah, I would think that it should be a very similar lineup to the one that we saw last night as well. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it against a tough right-hander, a solid right-hander. He's kind of maybe in that Eric Fetty category a little bit. Cardinals are going to have their hands full, I think, but the matchup should be favorable if those lefties continue to mash.
What would you be happy with from this series? What would you have been happy with going into yesterday? Because I'm not going to count, because what you're happy with changes after you win a game.
Yeah, on paper, last night was one you really had to get, I think, if you're looking to win the series. And 3 out of 4, I think, you'd be thrilled with that. As of yesterday, I think I would have said content to just survive it and go 2 out of 4, even though 4 games at home you think would be more favorable and this would be a real opportunity. But, it's been a little up and down for Liberators, so I wasn't real sure what you were going to get. With getting game 1 in hand, though, now you got to win this series at a minimum.
That'd be 3-1. That's 3.
And that would gain you 2 games. I mean, it's not like your normal 3-game series where, you win 2 or 3 against the team you're chasing and you only pick up 1 game in the standings. It doubles because you're able to have that 4th game and hopefully win the extra one to claim the series. That would go a long way because the Cardinals would then be sitting 2.5 back of the Cubs instead of, imagine it going the other direction. You lose 3 of 4 and now you're 6.5 back. It's a big swing when you play a 4-gamer against the team that you're chasing in the standings.
Then after this series, the Cardinals are in Cleveland over the weekend. Then they visit Pittsburgh. And then it's kind of a long road trip. Are anybody in this room going to Chicago for 4th of July weekend for the Cards and the Cubs?
I will not be, but I will be jealous of those who are. That's going to be a lot of fun.
It'll be nuts.
Yeah.
I think St. Louis will probably take over Michigan Avenue. That'll be my guess. And that's 4th, 5th, and 6th, the Cards at Chicago. Oh, by the way, the Cardinals are on Sunday Night Baseball. That game at Wrigley on the 6th of July is a Sunday Night Baseball game.
I don't even think I like that for 4th of July weekend, but that's a fun novelty, I suppose. That's okay. That's good. I mean, it'll be the national coverage that the rivalry deserves, so I can get on board with that.
Yeah, and then after that, by the way, Cardinals have actually on the 3rd, they have a day off. They have a day off next week. That's pretty cool.
It's the first one and first scheduled in like 2.5 weeks, and only the second scheduled since like the very beginning of June 2nd.
We'll have more on the Blues new jerseys tomorrow. We'll be talking about the Blues draft. It's unbelievable. So you got the NBA draft on Friday and the NHL draft, or NBA draft on Thursday, NHL draft on Friday. It's coming up already.
Yep. Well, I mean, their seasons took long enough to end. So I guess
that's true.
I mean, the NBA thing is unbelievable. 3 games basically, or 3 days between games. Sometimes it seems like, but hey, we're into the off season before, a couple months will pass and those seasons will be starting back up again because of how darn long the playoffs last. But yeah, it's fun to have draft season upon us in those sports for sure.
Brenden Schaeffer, you always do great work.
Thank you.
I enjoy working with you, sir.
Appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun, and I'll be here next Tuesday, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, and are you doing the radio tomorrow? Somebody say?
It sounds like I might be filling in for the cat on Thursday on the Lou Information Station, but you'll catch me too on post game tonight for the Michael McGreevy show, as well as tomorrow night. I'll be on the Cardinals post game, so you can check out STL Sports Central after the conclusion of these next 2 Cardinals Cubs games, and you'll see my shining face ready to break it all down.
Looking forward to that. And if you're looking for a great place to watch the game, I want you to head to Hot Shots. They have 13 area locations, and Hot Shots is so much fun. And that post game that Brendan's going to be on tonight on STL Sports Central, it's going to be brought to you by our friends at Hot Shots. They invite you to come out to any of their locations and celebrate their 35th anniversary. Congratulations to Hot Shots on 35 years. St. Louis home for all the games, all the time since 1990. Find yours at hotshotsnet.com. Matthew Rocchio, as always, great to have you running the point on this show. He is our you're our point god. You're our Chris Paul.
It felt good after yesterday's visual happening I'll call it that, to be behind the scenes today.
Yeah, you barely fit in the bubble. I mean, it's unbelievable. It is astounding what happens when they put you in that thing.
Rather remarkable. Yeah. So, but Matthew, we'll be back in that chair tomorrow, and we'll compare. See, okay, I'll tell you before we go. So, my favorite is it 47. The 47, is that the caps, the brand?
That was 47 brand. Yeah.
So the perfect fit for me, the perfect cap is the LXL for 47 brand.
Okay.
It fits me perfectly.
There you go.
Love those caps. And you know who makes great caps? I was telling somebody this yesterday. And they don't make the caps, I'm sure, but they've got Callaway on the front, right? I spend $30 for a Callaway cap. I spend $30 to advertise somebody else's product.
Those in the golf game have really done a nice job of branding, because everybody. I was just at a golf store yesterday, going, I want to buy one of these caps. I didn't, but they've got it figured out in golf, man.
Yeah, we need to get some Randy Karraker show caps made.
Yeah,
and then sell them.
Let's do it. I'm in.
Sounds great. Hey, y'all have enjoy your tacos today on Taco Tuesday. Matthew, Brendan, Randy, and we will see you tomorrow for Hump Day here on STL Sports Central.